So the four of them are getting ready to go to Camp Muir, and they come up to the trailhead to go up there, and there's apparently a sign there that a lawyer wrote to make sure that no one associated with this area would have any liability should anything bad happen to anyone going up this hill. So this 10-year-old kid's reading this sign about bears and freezing to death and hypothermia and all the terrible things you can do. So he, as a good 10-year-old, after reading this sign, looked at his dad and said, "This sounds boring." So his dad really tried to get him to go. He'd protect him. He'd make sure he was safe. He wasn't going to go. So the two brothers and the father go on. So what Gary did is he went back to the visitor center, and he decided he was going to get to know Mount Rainier. So he went to like every exhibit twice and learned everything there was to know, so that when his family came back, he could tell them all about Mount Rainier. He was all ready to go. Except when they came back and he was trying to tell them about all the exhibits that he'd seen, they started talking about the mountain they saw, and the lakes they saw, and the bear they saw from a distance, and the eagles that they saw, and the vistas they saw out to the Pacific Ocean. Mark elaborated and said, this is a lot like the church at times. We're satisfied with the visitor center. We really work at the visitor center. We repaint the visitor center. We knock down a wall and make the visitor center bigger. We spend a lot of time with the visitor center when the adventure's outside. The adventure where God is at work. And he said, part of what we need to do is to prepare the church to be those who take the adventure and not just be satisfied with spending all their time in the visitor center. There's a sense in which what we're trying to do with Company New Pastors is to help you be people who experience the adventure and be people who lead other people to experience that adventure as well. That we not be people who are satisfied with looking at exhibits that never change, but are people who follow Christ into the world in all kinds of faithful ways. That when we gather as a people in the communities that you will lead, that gathering around word and sacrament will be the things that drive you again out to proclaim the gospel to the whole world. And that as a community, that you will be people who will be faithful to that task and equipped for that task and able to handle whatever it is that comes to engage that community in the adventure. And the Company of New Pastors, what we hope for you is that these simple things that we do for these next 5 years will be those things that give you energy and direction and resources to live the adventure and to draw other people into it. Amen.